My name is Lily. I'm 22 years old, and if you're hearing this, I need you to really imagine yourself in my shoes for a second. Because my story doesn't start with heartbreak, it starts with betrayal. The kind of betrayal that makes your stomach twist and forces you to question if blood really means anything at all. The truth is, I should be dead right now, not because of the accident that put me in a coma, but because of my parents. Yeah, you heard that right. The two people who were supposed to protect me, love me, stand by me. They told the doctors to pull the plug. Not out of mercy, not because I was suffering, but because they wanted the insurance money. And the cruelest part of all, I heard them say it the night everything changed. I was just leaving my shift at the coffee shop. It was pouring outside, the kind of rain that makes the streetlights blur, and the sidewalks shine like mirrors. I remember clutching my bag tighter, counting the tips I'd made in my head, already thinking about how they'd go toward rent, books, and maybe a cheap takeout meal. I was exhausted, running on fumes after a week of exams and late-night studying. All I wanted was my bed. The last clear thing I remember was pulling up to the intersection. I had the green light. I glanced left, then right. Nothing. But in the corner of my eye, something moved too fast. Headlights. Screeching tires. A horn blaring. And then the world exploded into metal, glass, and a darkness so heavy it swallowed me whole. When I finally woke up, I wasn't really awake. My mind was alive, but my body wasn't. Imagine being locked inside yourself, aware of everything but unable to move, unable to open your eyes, unable to even twitch a finger to prove you're still in there. That was me, trapped, screaming silently while the world went on without me. At first, the sounds around me were just muffled echoes, machines beeping, distant footsteps, voices I couldn't quite place. But then one night, they became clear. And when I realized who I was hearing, my heart nearly burst with relief. It was my mom and dad. My parents. They were here. But that relief lasted only seconds. "She's not gonna make it," my mom whispered, her voice sharp with something I couldn't name. "We might as well face it now." My dad's voice followed, heavy and tired. "I know, but the policy, you know what it says. If she's declared brain dead, the payout is immediate. We could finally pay off the house. We could start over. Start over. Like I was nothing more than a failed project they could erase." I tried to scream, to move, to do anything, but my body betrayed me. All I could do was lie there as my heart thrashed against my ribs, faster and faster, as if it understood before my mind did. My parents didn't see me as their daughter anymore. I was a number on a life insurance contract. The following days only made it worse. I heard everything, every whispered conversation, every argument. The doctors told them there was hope, that I wasn't brain dead, that patients like me sometimes woke up. But my parents didn't care. Hope doesn't pay the bills. My mom snapped one night, her voice cutting through the room like broken glass. "Do you know how much this is going to cost us if she lingers like this? We'd lose everything." And my dad, he didn't fight her. He didn't defend me. He just muttered, "Maybe it's better this way." That was the moment something inside me shattered. The people I trusted most in the world had given up on me. No, worse. They wanted me gone. But then, something unexpected happened. A new voice entered my world. A nurse's. She didn't treat me like a lost cause. Her name was Sarah. And every time she came on shift, she'd sit by my bed and talk to me like I was still in there. She told me about her kids, about the way her cat kept knocking glasses off the counter, even about how she spilled coffee all over herself, rushing into work. And somehow, that gave me something to hold on to. I focused on her voice like a lifeline. I clung to every word, every laugh, every sigh. And with each day that passed, I felt something inside me fighting to come back. But before I could, something happened that made my blood run cold. One night, I heard my parents again, and this time they weren't just talking about pulling the plug. They were demanding it. I don't know what's worse, hearing your parents quietly wish you were gone, or hearing them demand it. That night, the room felt heavier, like the air itself was suffocating me. My mom's voice was sharp, almost desperate. She's not improving. We need to stop dragging this out. Doctor, you said yourself the chances are slim. What are we even waiting for? We should make the decision now. My dad cleared his throat. He always hated confrontation. But even then, he didn't stand up for me. Instead, he tried to sound reasonable. She's been in this state for weeks. The bills are piling up. You know how much her care costs per day. We can't keep pretending. Pulling the plug might be the merciful thing. Merciful. That word merely drove me insane. They weren't talking about mercy, they were talking about money. The doctor hesitated. His voice was firm, but not unkind. With respect, she's showing neurological responses. It's not just reflexes, there's activity. That means she could come back. I can't, in good conscience, recommend ending life support right now. For the first time since the accident, I felt a flicker of hope. Someone believed I was still in here. But my mom didn't care. She scoffed, her voice turning icy. Doctors always say that to keep patients hooked up. It's easy for you, you're not the one paying thousands every week. We can't afford this. She wouldn't want to drain us dry. I wanted to scream. You don't know what I'd want. You never asked me. Then my mom said something that carved itself into my brain like a scar. If she had any love for us, she'd let go. She'd understand that we need to move on. Maybe this is the best way she can finally do something for us. Do something for them, as if my death would be a gift. I felt the edges of panic pressing in, like I was drowning underwater. But in the middle of that terror, I clung to one thing. The sound of a chair scraping closer to me. Nurse Sarah. Her voice came, calm but firm. Mr. and Mrs. Hayes, with respect, I don't think that's what your daughter would want. She responds to me. When I speak to her, her heart rate changes. That means she hears us. My mom snapped back. That's coincidence. Don't you dare give us false hope. But Sarah didn't back down. Hope isn't false. Hope is human. And as long as she's showing signs, I'll keep treating her like she's still here. Because she is still here. If I could have cried, I would have. She believed me. She saw me. She wasn't giving up. After my parents left that night, slamming the door behind them, Sarah leaned close and whispered, I don't know if you can hear me, Lily, but if you can, I need you to keep fighting. I'll fight with you. I wanted to grab her hand. I wanted to sob into her shoulder. Instead, I lay frozen, my mind screaming, yes, I hear you. I'm still here. Don't let them kill me. The days blurred after that. My parents came in less often, and when they did, their voices were colder. They stopped calling me sweetheart. They stopped crying at my bedside. Instead, they talked in clipped, practical tones, like they were negotiating the sale of a car they no longer wanted. Meanwhile, Sarah kept talking to me. Every shift, every chance she told me about her kids' school projects, about the annoying doctor who hogged the coffee machine, even about the TV shows she was binge-watching. It sounds silly, but those stories became my anchor. I clung to them like a drowning person clings to driftwood. Her voice reminded me that life still existed outside this prison, and that maybe, just maybe, I could reach for it again. That's when I started trying. At first, it was just a thought. Move. Please, just move. I focused on my hand, on my finger, imagining it twitching. For days, nothing happened. But one night, as Sarah was telling me a story about her son spilling orange juice all over her laptop, I felt something strange. A faint spark. My finger jerked. It was small, barely noticeable. But to me it felt like an earthquake. Sarah gasped. I heard the clatter of her clipboard hitting the floor. Lily, was that you? Do it again. I tried. I screamed in my head. Yes, I'm here. My finger twitched again, sharper this time. Her voice broke. Oh my God, you're in there. She called the doctor, who rushed in and began checking my vitals. My parents were summoned too. By the time they arrived, my room was alive with energy. For the first time, the doctors weren't just talking about probabilities, they were talking about progress. But my mom, she didn't smile. She didn't cry tears of relief. She looked annoyed. That's just a reflex, she said flatly. You can't base hope on a finger spasm. The doctor disagreed. It's not just a spasm. It was repeated and purposeful. This is a sign of awareness. I couldn't see her face, but I could hear the ice in her tone. So what? We keep her hooked up for another year while we go bankrupt. This is ridiculous. And then my dad, in the most lifeless voice I'd ever heard, said, maybe we should transfer her to a facility that doesn't drag this out. My blood turned to fire. Transfer. I knew exactly what that meant. They wanted me somewhere easier to forget. Somewhere far from Sarah. Somewhere they could end things quietly. I wanted to howl, to leap from the bed and grab them by the shoulders, but my body still betrayed me. All I could do was twitch, twitch, twitch. Sarah, bless her soul, wasn't having it. She's here, and she's fighting. I won't let you give up on her, not while I'm here. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel powerless. For the first time, I had an ally. But deep down, I knew something. My parents weren't going to stop. They weren't going to suddenly turn into loving, selfless people. They'd already shown me who they really were. The question wasn't if they'd try again. The question was when. Days turned into weeks, and I kept fighting. Every night, I focused on moving something. My fingers, my toes, anything that would prove I was still alive inside this useless body. The progress was slow, agonizingly slow, but Sarah never stopped encouraging me. You're stronger than you think, Lily, she'd whisper. One day you're going to open your eyes, and when you do, you'll tell me all your secrets. Those words kept me alive, but not everyone wanted me alive. One night, I overheard my parents again. They thought I couldn't hear them, but I did. Are you sure about this? My dad asked, his voice hushed. Yes, my mom snapped. The longer she stays hooked up, the more money we waste. The insurance won't pay if she recovers. Don't you get it? Alive, she's a liability. Gone, she's our fresh start. Fresh start. Those two words made me want to vomit. But then my dad said something that froze me from the inside out. You know, we could have avoided all this if she hadn't found out about the college fund. The college fund. Memories came rushing back. Me, in tears at 18, begging them to explain why the money I'd been promised for school was suddenly gone. They told me it was for bills, that it had been unavoidable, that they were sorry. But now, lying helpless in that hospital bed, I realized the truth. They hadn't just used my fund for bills, they had stolen it. My mom's voice lowered, bitter and sharp. She was always ungrateful, always acting like we owed her everything. Well, now she can finally repay us. Repay them with my life. If rage could have set me free, I would have leapt from the bed and torn out every wire. My chest burned. My mind screamed. My muscles trembled with effort. And for the first time since the accident, I felt something new. My hand moved. Not just a twitch this time, a grip. My fingers curled tight around the blanket. Sarah noticed immediately the next morning. Lily, oh my God, you're getting stronger. Her joy gave me fuel, but I couldn't let it out yet. Not all of it. I had to be careful. Because if my parents realized how much I remembered, how much I knew, they'd find another way to silence me. So I made a choice. I'd keep pretending. Pretend I was weaker than I was. Pretend I remembered less than I did. Until the moment came when I could take everything back. Because make no mistake, I wasn't just going to survive. I was going to make them regret ever wishing I didn't. It happened on a Tuesday morning. I'll never forget it. The sunlight was streaming faintly through the blinds. Sarah was humming softly as she checked my IV, and I decided that today was the day. I'd been practicing in secret for days, gripping the blanket when no one was looking, flexing my toes when the room was empty. My body was still weak, but my mind was stronger than ever. Okay, Lily, Sarah said, smiling down at me. Today we're going to try something new. If you can hear me, I want you to blink. Blink. It sounded simple, but when you haven't opened your eyes in weeks, it feels like trying to lift a mountain. I fought against the weight, pressing down on my eyelids, muscles trembling, heart hammering. And then a thin, blurry slice of light cut across my vision. Sarah gasped. Oh my God, you did it. Lily, you blinked. I forced it again, slower this time. Once, twice. Her hand gripped mine. You're coming back to me. I knew it. The room filled with footsteps as doctors rushed in. Suddenly, I was the center of attention. Machines beeping, voices chattering, questions flying. But all I cared about was the relief in Sarah's voice, the warmth of her hand in mine. Someone believed in me. Someone had fought for me when my own parents wouldn't. Speaking of them, my parents walked in an hour later, and I'll never forget their faces. My mom's smile was practiced. Too wide, too fake. "Oh, sweetheart, you're awake." My dad echoed her, patting my hand like he was greeting an old acquaintance. We were so worried. Worried? I wanted to laugh if my throat hadn't felt like sandpaper. They weren't worried. They were disappointed. I could see it in their eyes, the tiny flicker of irritation, the unspoken thought, "This ruins everything." I wanted to scream the truth, to call them out right there. But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I let my eyes droop, playing the part of the fragile, confused patient, because I knew something they didn't. I remembered everything. Over the next few days, I pretended to be weaker than I was. I let Sarah and the doctors believe I was slowly regaining memory, slowly piecing things together. But inside, my mind was razor sharp, replaying every word I'd overheard, every betrayal, every lie. My parents visited less often now, which was fine by me. When they did show up, my mom would sit with that fake smile plastered on her face, whispering things like, "We'll get through this, Lily, as a family." A family. The word tasted rotten. I knew the truth. They weren't here for me. They were here to make sure I didn't remember too much, too fast. Because if I did, their carefully constructed mask would shatter. And I was counting on it. So I waited. I let them think they still had control. But deep down, I was planning. Because the moment I had the strength, I wasn't just going to open my eyes. I was going to open every door they'd tried to slam shut. And when I did, the truth was going to destroy them. My recovery wasn't fast, but it was steady. Every day, Sarah helped me push a little further, blinking on command, squeezing her hand, even mouthing silent words. My throat was raw, my body weak, but my mind was sharper than it had ever been. And with that clarity came a choice. I could tell the doctors everything I'd overheard. I could expose my parents right then and there. But no, that would be too easy. Too merciful. I wanted them to feel what I had felt. Powerless, trapped, begging to be heard. I wanted them to know what it was like to have the person you trusted most betray you for their own gain. So I played my part. The confused, fragile daughter who didn't quite remember what happened. At first, it worked. My parents seemed relieved. My mom would pat my hand and say things like, "Don't push yourself, honey. It's better if you don't dwell on the past." My dad would nod along, never meeting my eyes for more than a second. But there were cracks. One night, Sarah left the room to grab supplies and I was alone with them. My mom leaned close, her voice low and venomous. "You should have let go, Lily. You were supposed to make things easier for us. But no, you just had to fight." My chest tightened, but I didn't blink. I didn't flinch. I just stared at her with the dull, empty look of someone still recovering. She smiled coldly. "That's right. Stay quiet. That's what you're good at." Then she stood, smoothed her coat and left. I'll never forget the chill that ran through me. My own mother talking to me like I was a burden she couldn't shake off. But instead of breaking me, it fueled me. The next morning, I worked harder than ever. Sarah taught me breathing exercises. And with each attempt, my voice scratched closer to the surface. My first word came out like sandpaper, but it was enough to make Sarah cry tears of joy. "Water," I rasped. She hugged me like I'd just performed a miracle. And to me, it was one, because if I could speak one word, I could speak them all. Within a week, I could form short sentences. My voice was weak, but it carried weight, and I knew exactly what I'd use it for. One evening, my parents came in again, all fake smiles and shallow hugs. My mom started babbling about how we'll get through this together when I cut her off. "Funny," I whispered, my voice hoarse but steady. "You didn't sound like that when you told the doctors to pull the plug." Her face froze. My dad's jaw tightened. For the first time, the mask slipped. You don't remember that," my mom stammered. I forced a smile, weak but deliberate. "I remember everything." The silence that followed was electric. They stared at me, stunned, as if their carefully guarded secret had just crawled out of the shadows and wrapped itself around their throat. I leaned back against the pillows, my heart racing. For weeks I had been powerless. For weeks they had held all the control. Not anymore. Because now they knew the truth. And they knew I wasn't going to let it go. The moment the words left my mouth, I remember everything. The air in the room shifted. My parents weren't looking at me like their daughter anymore. They were looking at me like a liability. My mom's hand froze halfway to adjusting my blanket. Her lips trembled as if she wanted to deny it, but her eyes gave her away. My dad's face hardened, the way it always did when he was cornered. "You don't know what you're talking about," he said flatly. "Oh, I do," I rasped, my throat aching with every word. "You told the doctors to unplug me. Not because you thought I was suffering. Not because you thought it was the right thing. But because you wanted the money." The silence was deafening. Sarah walked in just then, a clipboard in hand. She froze, sensing the tension immediately. My mom's fake smile snapped back into place as fast as lightning. "Sweetheart, you're confused," she said sweetly. "Comas can mix up memories. You're imagining things." I looked straight at Sarah. My voice cracked, but I made sure every word was clear. "I'm not imagining anything." I heard them. "They wanted me gone." Sarah's eyes darted between us, suspicion burning bright. "Is that true?" she asked my parents, her tone razor sharp. My dad scoffed. "Don't be ridiculous. She's delirious. She doesn't know what she's saying." But I didn't let him bulldoze me this time. I sat up straighter, gripping the edge of my blanket like it was armor. "I remember the exact words," I said. "Mom told the doctor, she's never going to wake up. Just pull the plug and let us have the money." "And you," I turned to my dad, my voice rising with every syllable. "You said, she's a drain. Just do it already." Sarah's face went pale. She didn't say anything, but she didn't need to. Her silence screamed louder than words. For the first time since waking up, I saw fear flicker across my parents' faces. Not guilt, not shame. Fear. "You ungrateful little..." My mom hissed, but she stopped herself when Sarah stepped closer, placing herself between us. "Enough," Sarah said firmly. "If what Lily is saying is true, this is serious, very serious." My dad laughed bitterly. "What are you going to do, nurse? Take her word over ours?" Sarah's expression didn't falter. Yes, I will." That was the moment I realized I wasn't alone anymore. I had an ally, someone who believed me, someone who wasn't afraid of them. My mom grabbed her purse with a sharp tug. "We're done here," she snapped. "Come on, John." But as they stormed out, I couldn't help the small triumphant smile tugging at my lips. For the first time, they weren't in control. I was, and this was only the beginning. Because if they thought I was just going to sit in this bed and let them walk away, they had no idea what kind of storm I was about to unleash. The next morning, they came back. My parents. I almost laughed when I saw them walk through the door, their expressions perfectly rehearsed, soft smiles, concerned eyes, voices dripping with fake warmth. "Hi, sweetheart," my mom cooed, setting down a bouquet of flowers like she hadn't just tried to erase me from existence a week ago. "We've been so worried about you." I stared at the flowers, bright, cheerful, almost mocking. "You mean worried about your insurance check?" I said dryly. My dad chuckled like I'd made a silly joke. "Come on, Lily. Don't talk like that. We're your parents. Everything we do is for you." I didn't even blink. "Then why did you tell the doctor to pull the plug?" My mom's smile faltered. Just for a second. But I saw it. She leaned closer, lowering her voice like she was scolding me in public. "You don't want to spread lies like that, do you? People might think you're unstable, and then what? They'll keep you in here longer. Is that what you want?" That hit like a slap. She was trying to make me doubt myself, to twist my words into insanity. But before I could fire back, Sarah walked in, clipboard in hand, as usual. But her eyes flicked to me with that spark, the one that said, "I've got your back." "Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Carter," Sarah said sweetly. "I didn't realize you were visiting again. Lily was just telling me such interesting things about your conversations." My parents froze. Sarah smiled politely, but her tone carried weight. "I'll make a note of it in her file." My dad's jaw clenched. My mom's fake smile snapped back on, tighter this time. They mumbled some excuse about having to leave soon, kissed the air near my cheek, and walked out stiffly. The second the door closed, I exhaled, my body trembling. Sarah leaned close, whispering, "I believe you. If you want justice, we're going to need proof." My chest tightened. "Proof?" She nodded. "A recorded conversation. Something undeniable. Because people like your parents, they'll twist every word until they look like the victims." I swallowed hard. "And you'd help me?" Sarah's eyes softened. "After what I just saw?" "Absolutely." For the first time since my coma, I felt something new. Not fear, not anger. Hope. We started small. Sarah brought in a discreet voice recorder, tucked into the drawer by my bed. All I had to do was get my parents talking, to let them show their true colors. And something told me that wouldn't be hard. Because deep down, they didn't see me as their daughter anymore. They saw me as an obstacle. And obstacles? People eventually say the quiet part out loud. 2 days later, Sarah and I were ready. The recorder was hidden, tucked inside the drawer next to my bed, already running before my parents walked in. I could feel my pulse hammering in my throat when the door opened. My mom entered first, dressed sharp like she'd just stepped out of a business meeting, followed by my dad, who smelled faintly of whiskey. They didn't bother with fake hugs this time. Instead, my mom sat at the edge of my bed, crossing her legs, her smile tight and brittle. "So," she began, her voice cool, "the nurse tells me you've been saying some troubling things." I forced my face into wide-eyed confusion. "Like what?" She glanced at my dad before continuing. "That we wanted you gone." "Lily, that's absurd. You imagined that. You were in a coma." My dad snorted. "Yeah, comas make people hallucinate. Don't embarrass yourself by repeating nonsense." I leaned back against the pillows, keeping my tone casual. "Funny. Because I remember it really clearly. Mom, you told the doctor you wanted the plug pulled, that I wasn't worth saving." Her face hardened, the mask slipping for a split second. "Don't twist my words." I tilted my head, feigning curiosity. "So what were your words then?" The silence stretched. My heart was thudding so hard I thought they might hear it. Finally, my dad muttered, "We were being realistic. You weren't supposed to wake up. Do you know how much the bills cost us? Do you know what kind of debt we're drowning in because of you?" My stomach flipped. There it was, raw, unfiltered resentment. But my mom wasn't finished. She leaned close, her whisper venomous. "We didn't need you waking up and making things harder. The insurance money would have saved us. Don't you get it, Lily? You were worth more to us dead than alive." My throat closed, but I didn't flinch. I couldn't. Not yet. I just gave her a weak smile. "Thanks for clearing that up." Neither of them noticed Sarah's shadow just outside the door, listening. Neither of them knew that their every word had been captured crystal clear on tape. When they finally left, satisfied they'd put me in my place, Sarah slipped in, her eyes blazing. She opened the drawer, pulled out the recorder, and pressed stop. We listened. Every hateful word, every selfish confession, perfectly preserved. Sarah's hand tightened around mine. "Lily, this is it. This is how we end them." For the first time since the accident, I felt truly alive, because now I had power. And my parents, they had no idea their carefully hidden cruelty was about to become their downfall. 2 weeks later, the doctors declared me well enough to leave. I could walk short distances with support, my voice was stronger, and my mind was clearer than it had ever been. My parents were there, of course, acting thrilled. They signed discharge papers with plastered smiles, already planning how to spin this into their story of devoted parents. But what they didn't know, Sarah and I had already been working in the background. She'd introduced me to a patient advocate and a lawyer who specialized in insurance fraud and medical malpractice cases. They both listened to the recordings. Both told me the same thing. This isn't just morally wrong, it's criminal. So I played along. I let my parents wheel me out of the hospital. Let them drive me home. Let them talk about how things would be different now. I nodded, smiled, acted like the grateful daughter. Until 3 nights later, we were sitting in the living room, the smell of my mom's perfume thick in the air. My dad had a glass of bourbon in hand. They were lecturing me about how expensive my recovery was going to be, how I owed it to them to get a job as soon as possible. That's when I stood. My legs trembled, but my voice was strong. You know what, Mom? Dad, I've been meaning to thank you. They looked at me, confused. Thank you, I continued, for teaching me the most important lesson of my life. That sometimes the people who are supposed to love you the most are the ones who'll try hardest to destroy you. My dad frowned. What the hell are you talking about? I pulled the small recorder out of my pocket, pressed play, and let their own words fill the room. She's worth more to us dead than alive. The insurance money would have saved us. Do you know how much debt we're drowning in because of you? Their faces drained of color. My mom covered her mouth. My dad lunged forward like he could snatch the recorder from my hands. Too late. You're finished, I said coldly. Sarah, the doctors, the lawyers, they've all heard this. You tried to kill me for money, and now everyone will know. For the first time in my life, I watched my parents panic. Not in control, not manipulating, just cornered animals, scrambling. Police came the next day. The recordings, combined with statements from the hospital staff, were more than enough. Fraud, attempted end-of-life interference, neglect. The list went on. I didn't even go to the hearing. I didn't need to. Because justice wasn't seeing them locked up. It was standing in my own apartment months later, stronger, independent, free. Sarah came by to visit often. She'd smile at me and say, you know, Lily, most people don't get the chance to rise from their own ashes. And she was right. My parents had tried to bury me. Instead, they made me unstoppable. And that, I realized, was the sweetest revenge of all. Thank you for listening.